Hi everybody, welcome to Beautifully Broken. I'm Patricia. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about chronic pain and depression and anxiety that can come along with the chronic pain. So I know the majority of the episodes have been leading up to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I wanted to kind of take a step back and include those people that are watching or listening that might not have Ehlers-Danlos, but they have fibromyalgia or lupus or multiple sclerosis or any kind of disorder or disease that causes chronic pain, which can lead to a lot of us having anxiety and depression. So first, I want to start off by saying that if you are feeling in a place where you are sad and that sadness is so deep that you aren't able to pull yourself out and you need immediate help, please contact the suicide helpline. And I'm going to read that number is 1-800-273-8255. Reach out to someone, know that they are there to help you with no judgment, or reach out to a friend or a family. And I will also post on YouTube and the blog post, the podcast post of the suicide prevention number, because I feel that that's very important that we make sure that that's out there. So going back to talking about chronic pain. So I discussed in a couple of my episodes about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and one of the biggest things for me was the pain that I experience on a daily basis. And that led me to, quite a few years of going to different doctors and trying to find the help that I needed. And in that interim time, there were a lot of doctors that didn't know how to help me, didn't know how to diagnose me, didn't know where to guide me or lead me. And that's a very hard thing to deal with. And as time went on in my life, more specifically, probably within the past couple of years, but more specifically after I got my diagnosis with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I felt like, okay, I know chronic pain is here to stay. I know that I haven't experienced a lot of good days where the pain is less than, say, a 7. And that's a pretty high tolerance pain to learn to walk around with. And so for me, again, I can only speak for myself and for what, I've read what others have said about feeling depressed or anxiety. But I want to make sure that when we talk about depression and we talk about anxiety, for me, when I say those things, those go hand in hand with my Ehlers-Danlos and all of the other comorbidities that I have. And it's not the depression and anxiety and then Ehlers-Danlos or POTS or MCAS. It's my disorders, my syndromes, my diseases that are causing the anxiety and depression. And I'm saying that because there have been many times, and I know there's several people out there that feel like they're crazy in the head. Like I've got this thing going on in my body, and every time I go to the doctor, to the emergency room, my pain is so heightened. I feel like out of control with what to do. And you go see either a new doctor, you go to the emergency room, and one of the first things that I've experienced is, it's your anxiety. Let's treat your anxiety. You're crying, you're obviously upset, and that's a very hard thing to deal with. So, excuse me. So I know, I just want people to feel that when you have a life changing medical diagnosis or illness or anything that comes into your life that can change the way you live, there's got to be some kind of anxiety about it, because you're so uncertain of what your future holds, of what day-to-day holds. And I'm going to give you an example. So for me, I had somewhere to go yesterday, and when I know I have to go somewhere outside of a medical appointment, I have to mentally prepare my body and myself for what's going to happen on the way there, on the ride there. And if it's a long enough car ride, I can anticipate that my pain is going to be heightened before I even arrive to my destination. And then the second thing is, while I am so yesterday it was lunch for me, and while I'm at the lunch, I needed to prepare myself that my pain is going to be heightened. First of all, I'm in a new situation that's not my comfort zone. It's not my chair. It's not my bed. It's not my chair that I'm sitting on here where it's just out of the norm. And so I have to mentally prepare that pain from even the car ride to the restaurant, to being inside the restaurant, my pain is going to be heightened. And so yesterday when I got to my destination, it took us about 25 minutes to get there, and I was already in a lot of pain. I knew I gave myself a time frame that I would only be there maybe an hour to an hour and a half, because I knew, as I said, I was going to be in more pain. And I can't cause my body any more anxiety from sitting there I don't want to say to appease other people, because no one expects me to sit there any longer than I want to sit there at this point that I'm aware of anyways yesterday. So when I was there yesterday, I had a good time. I got to eat good food. I got to see people that I haven't seen for a while. It was after the holidays. We didn't spend the holidays with our family. It was, an at-home thing with COVID going on and whatnot. So, when I see myself going there were a couple of people, that approached me and was like, "Oh my gosh, why are you in a wheelchair?" Or, "You look okay. Wow, you look great. Your hair looks great," whatever. But those things are all on the outside. And I've already discussed that, in previous episodes. What you see on the outside is not what's going on in our bodies on the inside for those of us that live with chronic pain. And so after about maybe an hour and a half, I knew I needed to go. And I just became very emotional towards leaving, and I started to cry, but I didn't want anybody to see me cry, because that was just me. And so I was in my chair, my power chair, and I just started to leave. And my husband and my son followed me out. And I needed to use the restroom, but I didn't want to rely on someone else to take me into the bathroom, because my legs had been giving out yesterday. So I just decided I would wait. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out of the situation, and I wanted to go home. And so now I know that, I got in the car and I told my husband why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And it just brings on this sadness of, I started texting a couple of people that I was sitting with before we left and saying, I'm really sorry that I didn't say goodbye. I got a little bit emotional, and it's very hard for me to be in situations where I know I look like I'm having an amazing time, but I'm not. And I'm grieving the loss of that old life that I used to be doing. And, they were fine. They were the two people that I were talking with, both, said it's fine, wish you a happy new year and text us later and whatever. But for me, that goes a lot deeper, because again, as I said, that chronic pain that I already know was going to be heightened, and I know it carries over into the next day, which is today. And you have to prepare for those things, and you have to make a choice. For me, you have to make a choice. And I know a lot of us that do have chronic pain, you have to make a choice. Is this something that I'm willing to sacrifice in order to, see my friends and family and go out and have a good time for an hour possibly? And obviously I did. But when I got home yesterday, sitting in my chair, I started to, my occipital neuralgia, which is the skull pain in the back of my head, became very severe. I started to get the aura headache where I was losing vision in the left side of my eye, and that was an indicator of you're going to get a really bad headache at this point. And of course, then, like I said, all of my pain was heightened from a 7 all the way, up to 8 or 9, if not even more than that. And I know when people say, how can you walk around with even a 7 out of a 10 pain? It's something that we become accustomed to, and you learn to deal with it. And it's when it escalates from that, I don't want to say comfort zone, because pain is not comfort zone, but when your pain levels are escalated from the norm of what you're used to being able to tolerate on a daily basis, for me, it's harder to deal with. So, again, I became very sad. I cry a lot because, as I said, there's the grieving process. And now I don't know if having a diagnosis made it more official in starting that grieving process, because I've been in pain for quite some time. So that wasn't anything new for me, but I do feel like getting that diagnosis and making things real and seeing the declining in my situation put that grieving process to me, because I am grieving the old person that I used to be, and that no longer exists, where I'm free and capable of walking up and down my own stairs or going to the bathroom without having to use a mobility aid. And those things I am so appreciative of. I can't tell you that, but I wish I didn't have to use them. So there's that grieving process that I go through, and I know others go through, of just missing what you had, and not even so much of just being able to go out to eat or whatnot. For me, it's taking my little one to the park or going for a walk around the block, and I can do those things in my chair, but there's a certain lengthy time. Like, I can go around the block in my wheelchair with her, but I can't sit at the park for a very long time. So, I mean, it's like not just, it's like going to hang out with friends or going to the mall, or, being able to going downstairs and going to work. I mean, those things are all gone, and I don't want to say taken from me, but it kind of feels like it is. So how do you cope with that loss, that sense of loss? How do you cope with your old life over here that now is totally different over here? And how do you deal with that sadness? How do you deal with that anxiety? How do you deal with the depression that you feel? And so for me, the coping skills that I have learned the coping skills that I have learned to use is, whenever I'm feeling anxious, is just to bring myself back to my breathing. That's going to calm me down. So first is just breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, and just regulating my breath. And I've done a lot of meditating. I've done a lot of reading or praying for, whatever works for you. For me, those are the things that work. I enjoy crocheting. I get frustrated a little bit because the time period that it takes me to do things is a little bit longer, or the length of time that I'm able to do it is not quite as often, but I do enjoy it. And I enjoy, talking to people, or so I think when I'm in a heightened situation where, I'm kind of desperate of what am I going to do, I need to take a step back from, say, social media, because you can travel down a dark hole in that way. I like to always try to find answers and whatnot of, what could this possibly be, from Ehlers-Danlos, Facebook groups or whatnot, or from Instagram and whatnot. But also you could spend hours and upon hours of reading, and you're reading, and then you're stuck in reading other people's issues. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because we all need to be supportive of one another, but that can be time consuming also, and it can take away and add to the anxiety that you're already feeling. So coping skills, again, are just regulating my breathing. I have a little apparatus that's called a Calm Me Go, and I will breathe in and breathe out just to regulate myself. Again, meditating, watching a TV show. I'm not huge into watching TV, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to occupy your mind. Music is big for me. I love music. It touches my soul. I could listen to the same song over and over again and just feel that sense of peace wash over me from, the feelings that I'm having. And then another thing is, I have a couple close friends and family members that I'm able to reach out to, that will listen to me. And I hope that you do as well, because that's important to have, especially when you feel alone in this crazy world that not only are we living in, that's going on outside of, your situations, but inside of our own bodies. So it's very important to have friends and family members that you can rely on when you're going through a hard time. I know, as I said, when I go to a new doctor, say I will have anxiety if I don't know who this doctor is, or if they're aware of what my issues are, if they've read my previous charts. I just build up this anxiety because I don't want to leave with this sense of helplessness. And that happens a lot, especially with people that have rare diseases or rare disorders and syndromes. We tend to find doctors that have no idea, and that can lead you to a lonely place. So I know for me, and I know I say that a lot because I don't want to speak for other people, and I don't want to make it seem like I know how every person is feeling through, your crisis or your illness, because I don't. I can only explain from what I am feeling. And from the moment that I wake up until the time that I go to bed, there is pain in my life. And I have had to, I'm not sure if I've accepted it, because that's a hard thing to accept. I don't understand it, and I'm not sure that I ever will. But I know that I can educate myself on how to comfort myself, because not always can someone comfort me. I spend the majority of my days at home alone, and I know some family and friends have, said you for me, when I'm at home alone, I don't tend to turn on the TV. I will listen to music, or I spend my time crocheting, or I'm filling out paperwork or whatever. And it's just my place. It's my place to not just think about what's going on with my body, but actually to let it go. Or if I'm having an even heightened pain day, that's my time to be alone, to, try to just settle in with, how am I going to deal with today? I need to assess the day. This is hurting, that's hurting. I need to assess my day. And I do that every day. And I hope that, that can be a help of you. Maybe just assess your day of, okay, well, I'm waking up. I know my feet are hurting. I know my back is hurting, and I do have a headache. My eyes are hurting, which is why I have my glasses on for those that are watching on YouTube. How am I going to cope with today? Writing it down, putting it in a journal or talking to someone. And again, just releasing and acknowledging and trying to accept it for that moment in time. And it doesn't have anything to do with tomorrow or the next day or the month. And I know that can be hard to comprehend because of the situation that you're in. But for me, I've traveled down that road. What am I going to do in 4 months when I'm supposed to do this? And what am I going to do next year when I want to go here? And I can't do that anymore. Like, I just have to focus on the here and now. And yes, there's things that have to be planned, but I need to focus on the here and the now. And if I can just take a step back into the depression portion, because like I gave out the suicide prevention number, and I did that for a reason. And I know that for me, there came a point where I had to reach out to my husband and a couple of people that I trusted to let them know that I'm feeling in a really dark place here. And I had to explain to them why I'm feeling in this dark place. Because when you live with pain every day, you don't seem to find, I don't seem to find the light at the end of the tunnel. And I can go to a dark place very fast, especially when I'm at that heightened place. Even if I'm not in a heightened place, it's just the repetitive of waking up day after day after day after day and being in such pain that, I mean, I don't mean to make this sound selfish, but it's about you. It's about me. It's about how you're feeling. And and I'm not going to say was, because I can become so sad that I just say, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I knew that it was time for me in my place to reach out to someone to say, I need help. And I don't know what that help looks like, but I'm just letting you know this is how I'm feeling and I need you. And even if it's for those people to listen to you, for me, that helped. Did it take me out of my deep sadness? It did not. And it still has not, because those days do still come. But I've learned that I needed to get professional help and reach out to a mental health provider that was familiar with Ehlers-Danlos for my situation, or for whatever your situation is, whether it's cancer, fibromyalgia, whatever you're dealing with in your life that, is causing that struggle. I highly encourage you to reach out to a professional who is familiar with what you're going through and talk to them. And don't be afraid to cry, to laugh, to open up and give all the dark secrets that you're carrying on yourself, because holding those deep dark secrets of how you feel and how you feel you're portraying onto your family as a burden, as I can't do this, I can't do that, that can just explode at some point or another. And for me, that happens a lot. And so again, if I can just offer that one piece of little advice as far as the anxiety and depression, I can't say you're gonna never go to a doctor again and they're not gonna say, well, it's your anxiety, because as I said, I still get that. But I feel like I have a few tools in my toolbox that I can pull out from time to time and say, remember, this is how you feel, and this is what you need to do. And you know what, dang it, it isn't always the best thing to say or feel or know, but in those times where you're telling yourself, okay, take the deep breaths, go sit down, listen to a good song, control your breathing, try to find something positive to focus on. When those things don't work, make sure that you validate yourself in knowing that you are important, that you are validated, that you are loved, that you are cared for, that you are needed no matter how you feel. And find that person that you need to speak to. You can contact your county. Wherever you live in, there's a crisis center that you can call if you don't want to contact the suicide prevention center. If you feel like you're not at that place of, okay, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to wake up anymore. If you just feel like I'm in this crisis place, they will listen to you. They will talk to you. They will try to find you the help that you need. If it's a crisis right in that moment, they will bring someone out to your house. I mean, find those resources if you don't feel comfortable in speaking to a close family or a friend, because you need that in your life. Journal, write it down, pray, talk to whomever is your being in your life, and find some way, shape, or form at least once a day to find that comfort in your life. And as I said, because I know I'm home alone a lot of the times, or I'm home alone with my little one a lot, I will, those things can take over your mind, and I need to take care of me, because I do have a family also to take care of. It might look a little different nowadays than it did, a couple of years ago, but you're important. I'm important. We are all important through this change in life or existing condition that you may or may not have had for years, or for, a week, or for a month. It's important, and you are important. And I just wanted to give you some of my resources. And I know, what works for one might not work for another, and somebody might have better ideas, and open to all of that. Just wanted to be here for a resource for those who take the time to listen, and know that everybody is different. Everybody struggles in their own way, shape, or form. And to feel validated, find that person who you can trust and talk to, because that's really important if you're not feeling validated. And I know there's times where I've not felt that way. So thank you for stopping by and listening to this episode about the chronic pain and depression. And I hope you've taken away something from this that can help you in your life, in your condition, and know that there are people out there that can help you. I will, again, as I said, leave the suicide prevention number in the YouTube comments or description, and also for the podcast. And if you're not in, if for your county, reach out for the crisis line if you need to. It's the holiday time, and I know it's hard for some people that don't even have chronic pain or illnesses or anxiety and depression. It's hard for them because they've lost a loved one or whatnot. And for me, it's hard because I've lost my life. And so grieving over that season is a very difficult thing to do. And we have to rise above it some way, shape, or form, and we have to move on. And I hope that you can find your peace in moving on in your way, and know that we are all here together, beautifully broken. Thanks for stopping by.